How is this little invasion of Soul Society going to play out? Mr. 12304 here, bringing you another discussion video today, and it carries on from chapter 508, which ended like a raging fire, which ended with Yamamoto activating Zanka no Tachi South, and he summoned a colossal army of skeletons from the ground to fight Juha Bach, villainous leader of the Quincy Vandenreich. So what we're going to be talking about today is how we think this little invasion of Soul Society is going to play out, what do we think of it at the moment, and, just little tidbits of maybe what's to come in the arc. So this is a 1000 Year Blood War Arc Predictions 2. So let's start with, what the main event at the moment is, the Yamamoto versus Bach fight. So it's kind of a 50-50 divide at the moment as to who people think is going to win. Is it going to be Yamamoto? I mean, the dude kicks ass. The old guy is literally Soul Society personified. He's a monster to be reckoned with. And now that we've seen his Bankai, Zanka no Tachi, it seems that has been solidified even further. The man can't be beaten. He's colossal, and with Zanka no Tachi Western Jutsu Gokui in effect, he can't even be touched. So Yamamoto has the ultimate offense and defense, now supplemented by the addition of this undead army. How can he possibly lose? On the other hand, in the blue corner, if you will, we have Juha Bach, leader of the Quincy. Now, the Quincy are obviously a very formidable race, possibly the second strongest. Some would argue maybe even stronger than the Shinigami, especially when they enter their Let's Steal or Vollständig mode. I personally would say the Quincy probably are stronger than the Shinigami. As we saw with Ayers Noah, he just completely annihilated Byakuya. Straight out, the Quincy, especially now they have Blut, which has basically enhanced the defensive capabilities, they seem pretty like an unstoppable force. But Yamamoto, as Shinsui said in chapter 506, I think it was, he said to Colonel Sanders Quincy that the logic just doesn't apply to Yamamoto, and we've seen that's the case. He can annihilate these Sternritter like that. But Bach's a little different. I mean, his Blut can withstand the force of Zanka no Tachi. I mean, that's something pretty incredible in itself. So really, it's difficult to call. I mean, who's going to win? You've got this unstoppable monster of a man, Yamamoto, who's been around for thousands of years. But then you've got Juha Bach. We don't know anything about him. He's also apparently been around for thousands of years. At the moment, he's not doing anything too impressive. He summoned that Zank Zwinga, the ultimate defensive spell of a Quincy. He hasn't used the ultimate offensive spell yet, but what it could possibly do against Zanka no Tachi, I don't know. So here's my prediction on how the fight's going to play out. I personally think that Bach is going to win, because I don't see how the plot can continue if he loses. If the Vandenreich were penned as being, Soul Society's devastators, they were unbelievably powerful foes who kind of marched into Soul Society and tore it apart. So if Juha Bach, this ominous Quincy leader, gets taken out now, I'd be like, oh, okay, it's over. So I really think Bach's got to win for the sake of the plot more than anything else. And I hate this plot, Kai, but really I don't see the story going any other way. So logically, how can Juha Bach win? Well, I personally think it's been foreshadowed a couple of times already. Firstly, when Unohana said that if Yamamoto doesn't hurry up, his Bankai will destroy Soul Society. And then in the most recent chapter, Yamamoto not only confirmed that, but he also, for some unknown reason, let Juha Bach know that if he doesn't hurry up, it's over. So I do think that Juha Bach will win this fight purely by stalling, because I don't think at the moment he can touch Yamamoto. I don't think, literally, Yamamoto in this Bankai can't be touched. Because when Juha Bach tried to cut him with a sword, it just would reduce the molecular level. So Bach's got to think about, well, hold on, I can't win, I literally can't outfight him, so what am I going to do? So I think if he stalls, like by using these defensive tactics, if he stalls against Yamamoto, he might be able to drag the fight out long enough so that Yamamoto realises, wait a minute, my Bankai might be about to destroy Soul Society, and he is forced to revert to Shikai. Not that that's any great handicap to our Yamamoto, but all the same, it might give Bach the edge he needs if Yamamoto reverts to Shikai. So yeah, that's how I think the fight's going to go out. Another topic, it's been quite big of conversation as of 506 is the fate of the 3 Sternritters that attacked Yamamoto. Ayers Noah, Nananajakoop, and the one who's suspected of being Busby, who took out Lieutenant Izuru Kira at the beginning of the fight. This was a really sore spot for me, because I didn't like it at all. The only thing that managed to alleviate that chapter was the colossal revelation of Yamamoto's Bankai. But I did not like the fact that Kubo just seemed to off those 3 Sternritter like that, especially as Noah, who is really, you know, an awesome looking villain, awesome. He had a really cool personality, he had really good potential. There was great emotional character development potential there for characters like Ruki and Renji after he did what he did to Byakuya. I don't think they're dead. Maybe that's purely because I want to see more of them, but I don't think they're dead. I think Kubo's going to do his typical Hope Spot scenario. So if you remember back in the Winter War, Hitsugaya encased Harabel in a tomb of ice, and Soifon seemed to connect with her Bankai against Baragon. And we were left like, oh, okay, they completely turned this fight around. And then suddenly, Wonder Weiss arrived, Hitsugaya's Bankai failed on him, and the smoke cleared and Baragon was revealed to be completely unharmed. Not only that, but Aizen broke free. I think the same thing is going to happen. I think the war is going to take a serious turn for the worst. Because so far, Kubo seems to be making this like more of an actual war than the Winter one was. You know, it started off with the Sternritter coming in, dominating everything. Morale was an all-time low for the Shinigami. But then when Yamamoto stepped into the fray properly, morale increased, as was said in the little conversation between Kyoraku and Colonel Sanders, Quincy. They were talking about the exchanging of morale and how it affected a fight. So at the moment, the Shinigami are kind of in their Hope Spot. Everything's going alright, sort of. It kind of started ever since Yamamoto fried Driscoll Bursey. Not only did he get taken out, then we saw Kenpachi took out 3 of the Sternritters, then Yamamoto annihilated another 3, and now he seems to be dominating Juha Bach. So at the moment, we're in the Shinigami Hope Spot. However, I think as soon as Juha Bach turns the tables on Yamamoto, that's going to be the 3rd twist to the war. I can almost envision a scene where Yamamoto just falls before him, and as he does so, as not Nana, Nanajiku and Busby rise from the ashes. A little bit charred, yeah, but, you know, they're fine, and that's bad, because it means that Yamamoto's fighting was in vain. That's the sort of scenario I can depict Kubo doing. He likes his despair, does Kubo. And so, you know, Juha Bach will sort of just be like, oh, you fools. He might scold them a little bit, but since they're real Quincy, he won't actually kill them. He'll then let them go off and, you know, kill some more... Excuse me. He'll let them kill some more Shinigami. And then I think we'll see the remaining captains fight. Komamura, Soifon, Hitsugaya. Although they don't have their Bankai, they seem to be, you know, feeling the morale boost that Yamamoto gave them. So I think we'll then probably properly see their fights. And they'll lose, I'd expect. And I think the last fight we might see, because we still have to see like Ukitake's fight, we need to... Rose, unfortunately, didn't get any closure, which was really... I didn't really like that, but, you know, maybe Nanano will return to his fight, because I suspect he didn't defeat Rose, he just ran off. So, I think we still need to see Ukitake fight his opponent. I personally think the last fight we might see is Kyoraku versus the Colonel Sanders Quincy, as that seems to be the only other fight we've seen quite a bit of so far. And there seems to be a bit of insight from each character in that fight. It's a good fight. It's between 2 apparently very wise people, especially Kyoraku. So yeah, that's how I kind of think the invasion will go. I do suspect the Vandenreich will probably defeat Yamamoto, and that will lead to Soul Society's morale plummeting and their eventual defeat. As for what will happen after that, though, I'm really not sure. This arc could literally go any way still. Ichigo is still trapped inside Kurge's cage. Now, from the last thing we saw about Ichigo, moving on from the invasion now, the last thing we saw about Ichigo was that he was trying to smash his way out of it, and it looked as though his Reiatsu was billowing past him, and also traces of his Fullbring Reiatsu were billowing past him as well. Now, there's a number of things that could possibly happen here. Is he going to Fullbring the cage, and, you know, use it, transform it into something? I don't know, maybe, probably not. Is he going to become something else, perhaps? Is he going to transform? I don't know why, because it's not particularly... I mean, usually Ichigo has a reason for his transformations. The Hollow, in the Ulquiorra fight, took over because he died, and the Hollow said that he'd take over again if he got killed. The Dango one, he trained for 3 months, you know. But this is almost random. He's just stuck in a cage and he's screaming his head off, so I don't understand where a transformation is going to come from. A lot of people have been saying that Grimjo's going to arrive and break him out of the cage. I don't see how that's going to happen. I think Kurge's jail is pretty, you know, pretty tough. I'm really not sure about it. I do think Ichigo's possibly going to get a visit from Zangetsu, because this seems to be one of those moments where all hope is lost for Ichigo. And it's been a while since we've seen old man Zangetsu, so I really hope we do see him again. I can just sort of imagine him walking on the thin air in the Garganta. That'd be really cool. I do think we could see him again soon. But that's enough about Ichigo. I really don't know where it's going to go with him. That's, Kubo's done the typical delay tactic, and I really don't see how... I mean, I can imagine Ichigo's going to arrive and Soul Society's going to be in complete and utter ruination. I'm not sure if... Because, I read something interesting, and I'd really like it to happen. I'd like the Vandenreich soldiers to occupy Soul Society, as it were, after they win, and, you get a couple of rogue Shinigami sort of applying guerrilla tactics. So, you got, these once proud captains sort of hiding away. But it'd be really cool if Vandenreich did win, but I think they will win. I can't imagine them sticking around, though. I think they might retreat back to the Ice Palace, which may very well be in the Dangai Precipice world, or in a Garganta, in which case they might run into Ichigo. But, or maybe Ichigo will find his way to the Ice Palace from this cage, you never know. Or maybe Kurge's cage was designed to transport Ichigo to the Ice Palace eventually. I know, this is all speculation, but that's the point of the video, As for, theories as to further along in the arc, obviously I suspect the Royal Guard will make their entrance. Kubo said they will. He said he's designed every character in the Royal Guard so far. As for who is in the Royal Guard, we obviously know Kiryu Hikifune. I also suspect Ginrei Kuchiki might be in there. Another reason why Kubo should have left as not untouched and hopefully still alive, because he could have enacted revenge. But a lot of people seem to be saying that the Royal Guard will arrive because the Shinigami are in serious trouble. That sounds like a quote from the Avengers or something. But I don't think they will, because the Royal Guard didn't arrive when Aizen was kicking ass. And, he destroyed all the captains. Admittedly, he left them alive, but he took them all out, and the Royal Guard didn't show their faces. I think this is because he didn't make it to the Royal Realm. The Royal Guard are an ancient force, and they don't really... I don't think they bother themselves with the petty squabbles of the people below. I think they're duty-bound to remain in the Royal Realm and protect the king. I almost imagine the Royal Realm to be like another smaller version of Soul Society, because it's obviously got living quarters and whatnot for these Royal Guards. They can't just sit around. So, yeah, I can imagine that if the Quincy, for some reason, somehow make it to the Royal Realm, the Royal Guard will greet them with a rather cold reception. Another person who's quite often talked about is Aizen. Is he going to return? Why would he return? How will he return? I think he will return. I can't imagine Soul Society asking for his help, though, because, for one thing, he's the biggest traitor they've ever really had that we know of at the moment. 2, he caused them the most trouble that we've ever seen at the moment. And 3, he doesn't really have any powers anymore. He lost his arm, hook, toe, and the Hogyoki rejected him, so I can't imagine what help he'd be on the battlefield. Admittedly, he has been in that prison for 2 years now, so who knows what Aizen could be doing. This is Aizen. He literally could have thought up some meticulous plan to immediately get his powers back. He might have even kissed and made up with the Hogyoku, who knows. But, yeah, I do think Aizen will return. I think it'd be kind of cool if Urahara went to visit him, sort of a la Turn Back the Pendulum when he went to visit Miuri. That would be really cool. So yeah, I suspect Aizen will probably come back. That's kind of it, really. I mean, I don't know what else there is to say. As I said before, that this arc could literally go any way yet, and there's a lot of things I'd like to see happen. I'd like to see all the Bankais of the remaining people. We've just seen the fact that we've just seen Zanka no Tachi pretty much solidified to me that we will see every Bankai. I mean, Yamamoto's was probably one of the more outrageous ones that people were trying to think up, and yeah, now we've seen it. So I do think that we're probably likely to see every Bankai, which is really awesome, because that's what this arc's all about. Not just the Bankais, but just the whole that finally getting answers to everything. So yeah. That's all. Leave the comment section below. What do you think is going to happen? How do you think this invasion is going to end? Do you think that Yamamoto is going to win? Or maybe Juha Bach's going to pull it out of the bag somehow? If so, how? Have you got any theories as to that? Also, if you've got any Bleach topics you'd like me to discuss in the future, please, either send me a message or leave it a comment in the section below. As always, guys, subscribe and leave me a thumbs up to let us know how we're doing. Until then, yeah, actually, that's another thing. Catch me tomorrow Bleach review and my first ever Naruto review. I'm a little nervous, so give me some support, guys. It should be cool. Until then,